Tonight, we look ahead to what's in store for this fall's provincial legislative session, how some Regina youth are brightening inner-city neighborhoods one mural at a time, and the Toronto Blue Jays are headed to the World Series.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, October 21st, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. It's been 160 days since the province's legislature last met. That changes on Wednesday when the Lieutenant Governor rises and lays out the government's priorities. Alexander Kwan has a preview of what might be in store.
For the first time in months, politicians are set to gather at the provincial legislature on a Wednesday as a new session kicks off. It's been a long break, but as one political scientist believes, the provincial government is set to grapple with many of the same issues it was facing when the last sitting ended.
But I think what will dominate this session, is kind of the things that we've been talking about over the last year, right, ever since the Trump administration came into power and sort of upended the Canadian economy.
This includes things like cost of living, healthcare, large interprovincial projects, and tariffs. The public will get a better idea of how the government plans to approach these issues when Lieutenant Governor Bernadette McIntyre gives her first throne speech since being installed in the position. As for the official opposition,
you can learn as much about the NDP right now as by what they're saying versus what they're not saying, right?
The NDP will continue its push to be viewed as a moderate alternative to the Saskatchewan Party, a move that has also seen the NDP shrink from criticizing the government's environmental record. But we do know the official opposition will introduce a series of private member bills, including on rent control. A former columnist believes the NDP will need to put in the work to prepare for this new session.
One hopes, considering we've seen a pretty repetitive criticism model from the opposition, that we're going to see something new in this session that's based on good, solid research of things that have gone wrong internally in the government.
Canola tariffs will also likely serve as an important battleground between Premier Scott Moe and NDP leader Carla Beck. Moe has backed away from calling for an end to Canada's tariff on Chinese electric vehicles, something widely seen as the cause for China's punishing duties on canola.
There's 35 farmers in the Saskatchewan caucus. This should not be a difficult one for Scott Moe. I would love to see something definitive in the throw-in speech in relation to that.
And that may give Beck an opportunity to target rural farmers frustrated with the little action on canola tariffs. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Premier Scott Moe says nuclear power will fuel Saskatchewan's energy future, but the cost and who will pay the bill for that nuclear future remains unclear. Moe was speaking Tuesday at the first Canadian Nuclear Association West conference in Saskatoon. He says Saskatchewan is moving forward with small modular nuclear reactors, but the province's energy plan is asking for the federal government to pay 3/4 of the cost of the first reactor.
I won't say what the response has been. I think you can look to the budget that'll be coming out in the very near future with respect to what kind of a commitment we'll see from the federal government when it comes to the role that they'll play in us achieving that nuclear energy security, that electrical energy security in Canada in the months and years ahead. And I would say that would be the first step.
The Office of the Federal Minister of Energy and Natural Resources declined to respond directly to an email asking about Saskatchewan's funding call. The province's new strategy would also extend the operation of coal-powered plants past 2030. The Saskatchewan Health Authority is renewing and expanding its partnership with a private day surgery company. Surgical Centres Incorporated has been taking on public day surgery cases to help the province keep up with demand since 2012. Over the past 2 years, the province has averaged around 100,000 surgeries a year. Nearly 18% of those core surgeries were done at Surgical Centres facilities. The centres can take on a variety of surgeries, including general surgery, orthopedics, ophthalmology, and pediatric dental surgeries, among others. The health minister says the partnership makes sense.
Doing some of this work in other jurisdictions around the country, why would we not allow them to come to Saskatchewan, provide that same quality level of care to Saskatchewan people right here in this province? And I think, again, the opportunity for a new contract really represents us being able to take another step forward in our partnership and offer more types of services, but more volume at the end of the day to Saskatchewan patients.
The new 7-year agreement will also expand the scope of the types of surgeries offered, including gynecology and overnight joint replacements. Surgical Centres Incorporated operates 2 clinics, one in Saskatoon and one in Regina. The University of Regina Students' Union is dissolving, but some students say that vote that made it happen was unfair. About 170 people took part in Tuesday's virtual meeting, far fewer than the university's total student body. Some students say they never got the meeting link, while others say they were locked out of it. One student senator says even those who did get in couldn't tell who was voting.
The attendees were anonymous, we are told, and no, because one student was kind enough to stream the meeting as it was happening on Discord. The vote, therefore, seems completely unverifiable. The result seems completely unverifiable because the identities of those attending cannot be confirmed.
In a statement, the University of Regina says it is aware that the meeting concluded with a vote to agree to dissolve URSU. It says it's waiting to hear from the union or its legal counsel about next steps, and it remains committed to working with student leadership who will act in the best interest of students. 3 Saskatchewan employers have been charged with violating immigration protection laws. The charges were laid under provincial legislation for the very first time. 3 men own and operate Guac Mexi Grill in Moose Jaw. They are accused of taking unfair advantage of foreign workers, charging illegal job fees, and threatening retaliation. The alleged offenses happened between August 2023 and February 2024.
This is a first of its kind in Canada for immigration charges to be laid under a provincial statute. This is an important day for Saskatchewan, it's an important day for Canada, and it's an important day for strengthening the integrity of our immigration system.
The province is stepping up enforcement, trying to deter this type of behavior, and that there's a big problem to address.
This case falls under old legislation due to the date of the offenses, but new legislation went into effect in July last year. It gives additional powers and authority to enforcement officers. It also raises penalties to $750,000 for new employers and $1.25 million for companies. Offenders could also face up to 2 years in jail. The accused are scheduled to appear in court on November 25th in Moose Jaw. The cost of living rose again last month. Statistics Canada says inflation jumped to 2.4% in September, up from 1.9% in August year over year. The higher than expected inflation rate was driven mainly by higher grocery prices, which were up 4%. Prices at the pumps and the cost of rent were also up from August. However, most economists are still expecting the Bank of Canada to cut interest rates again next month. Dozens of dead birds were found dumped near Saskatoon earlier this month. Whoever is responsible could face a hefty fine. And as Katie Swires tells us, the discovery has some calling for tighter hunting restrictions in the province.
It was a gruesome find. On October 16th, the bodies of more than 140 birds were found. The total body count, 129 snow geese, 12 ducks, and 1 Canada goose. Wildlife and hunting groups are condemning the dumping, and Saskatchewan conservation officers are investigating. They say this is nothing new. It happens every year.
It just comes down to some hunters that aren't, being responsible, and then they end up wasting the animals afterwards because they aren't wanting to deal with it. It's a lot of work to deal with birds. The easiest part is the actual hunt, but the cleanup afterwards and dealing with the meat is usually the time-consuming process.
Meyer says between the various fines involved for trespassing, littering, and wasting the animals, whoever is responsible could be hit with upwards of a $20,000 ticket. The birds were found near Patience Lake, about a 30-minute drive east from Saskatoon. They were dumped on private property, and there were cameras present. The province's tip line for wildlife crimes is asking for information about this truck. They're offering a $2,000 reward. Snow geese often migrate through Saskatchewan. In Canada, there are no limits on the number of dead geese that a hunter can have. Both Manitoba and Alberta restrict the number of days that non-Canadians can hunt migratory birds. Those limits do not exist in Saskatchewan. One conservation group says that is drawing foreign hunters to the province.
What we've ended up with is we have somewhat of a rampant illegal outfitting component built into Saskatchewan now, especially with Manitoba and Alberta taking those moves. And it's really pushed everybody into Saskatchewan that wants to conduct those types of activities.
Crabb says that by using term licenses, the other provinces appear to have completely eliminated illegal outfitting. And he says Saskatchewan should do the same. Katie Swires, CBC News, Regina.
Well, the leaves are almost off the trees across the province. The wind, of course, these past few days has definitely made some of them completely bare now. I'll have a look at your full forecast after the break. Welcome back. Some youth in Regina have volunteered to brighten their community. They're behind a series of bison murals that have been painted on garage doors. Darla Panes has that story.
I think it's just a program to try and enhance aspects of North Central.
Bison once roamed here over a century ago, and this program is now bringing them back. The beautiful bison murals are being painted all around Regina's North Central neighborhood. Some of them are used to cover graffiti, and others are being used to breathe life into empty spaces on garage doors. Stephen McDavid coordinates the Renew project through the North Central's Community Association. He says he started this in 2018 to bring art back into the community and to acknowledge what once existed here.
Part of the reason is that this was a rich ecosystem at one time, and it's one of the most devastated ecosystems on the planet I've read. Now, I guess other ecosystems, as we're getting damaged more and more, could argue about who's the best being destroyed. And it's honoring what was here at one time, in art at least.
Young people who live in the area work on the projects during summer and after school. Paisley Paik and her older sister are two of the volunteers.
I like making the community more beautiful and it just helps the community.
Paisley's mother, Erin, has been involved in many projects to enhance the community. She says she's happy her children are involved.
I'm really proud. I'm proud of everything my kids volunteer to do to help this community, but this is just something that they can leave kind of like a legacy in the neighborhood. It's also really amazing that it's right across the alley from our house, so we could see it out our window every day.
Pat Falconbridge says over the summer, a knowledge keeper came to speak about the significance of the bison. She says it's helped people to respect the artwork.
We very seldom see any of our murals or fences that we've painted get unwanted graffiti put on them. So it is, one is it's beautifying the neighborhood. People drive through and they stop and they have a conversation. But the other is that it really does engage people in the community to look after their community.
The next steps to the project is to add traditional Indigenous plants beside the murals, which they say will begin to bring back the natural ecosystems. Darla Panes, CBC News, Regina.
Some gorgeous artwork there, and a gorgeous day for some of us, at least across the province. In Saskatoon, we saw the sunshine. For others, though, we weren't so lucky and didn't quite get that sun. Let's take a look right now at what we're seeing in terms of our satellite radar across the province. You can see where that cloud cover was, kind of along that warm front that is dividing the cloud cover, and even a few showers and flurries in eastern sections of the province, and the sunshine out a little bit further west in Saskatchewan. And where we had that sunshine today, well, we had some pretty nice temperatures as well. Maple Creek, you can just see at the bottom of your screen there, hitting 15, as well as Leader. But then you go a little bit further east where we had those showers and the cloud cover. We only managed to get up to 6 degrees today in places like Melfort, Wynyard, and Hudson Bay. Regina, our daytime high around 8 degrees. That warm front and the low pressure system that it's associated with going to start to move out as we go through the evening hours Tuesday and into overnight Wednesday, bringing a little bit of some rain showers and maybe even some flurries to parts of the north overnight. Then high pressure dominates the weather picture for many of us as we get into Wednesday. And as that departs, that allows the next low pressure system that we're watching to start developing out in Alberta. Not before, though. We have a couple of nice days, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, and part of Friday with some sunshine. And that next low we'll be watching as it moves its way closer to the province as we get a little bit closer to the weekend. I think the bulk of the rain will be falling as we go through Tuesday evening through northern Saskatchewan. And even at that, it's maybe only a millimeter or two in far northeastern sections. Not really a lot of snowfall projected here. But one thing that we'll be having to watch through south and central is the development of some fog, especially through the Parkland region. And if you're traveling along Highway 16 there through Yorkton, keep in mind that that could be lingering as we get into the commute for Wednesday morning before that burns off in the sunshine starting to move through. We'll have a couple of calmer days as that high pressure settles in, and then as that next system develops as we get into Thursday, we're looking for those gusts to pick up. Could be near 50 at times in parts of southern Saskatchewan, but things will really be warming up. We're watching another ridge starting to develop out in Alberta, and by Friday, that means some much warmer weather's headed our way. You can see those orange and red colors developing there, which means mid-teens for Regina, and that means a very nice weekend. And for the Rider game in Regina on Saturday, that's going to mean a gorgeous day before we start to see temperatures slide back closer to normal with some cloud cover building in. For Saskatoon, I think mid-teens definitely a possibility as well. Look at that, some overnight low temperatures up around 5 degrees. You see normal for this time of year should be around -2. That system from Alberta could be bringing through some showers or flurries as we get into Monday. I think by Sunday it'll definitely be clouding things over before we're left with some cloudier conditions for Tuesday, but still some pretty nice temperatures for this time of year. Well, as sports events go, it couldn't have been bigger or more exciting. People across Canada are still buzzing with excitement after the Toronto Blue Jays clinched the American League Championship Monday night, taking them to the World Series, which starts Friday. Jamie Strachan on the hit that sent the crowd roaring at the Rogers Centre.
Down 3-1 in the 7th inning, the end of a magical season appeared imminent. But with 2 base runners on, enter George Springer.
He's in a position to tie the game up and possibly send this Blue Jays crowd into a frenzy.
He did more than tie it.
And a swing and a fly ball to left field. Back goes Rosarena. She's gone!
The 381-foot blast set off a sustained frenzy.
So happy for everybody here, our fans, our city, our country. This is for them.
As the ball cleared the wall, the Jays dugout erupted like little leaguers.
And you see players and coaches reacting the way they did, kind of surreal in the moment when you're witnessing a historic swing for the organization.
In the stands, Michael Angeletti saw the ball soaring towards his seat in the left field bleachers.
A baseball-savvy seatmates who I didn't know because I went to the game solo, they instantly were tracking the ball. I was watching them track it. That gave me a minute to half put on my glove.
When the ball finally landed, chaos. The Springer dinger instantly part of Blue Jay lore, alongside Roberto Alomar's homer in 1992.
And this game is tied. 1-1 for Tyson.
Jose Batista's bat flip in 2015. And of course, Joe Carter's 1993 World Series winner.
Touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
I can only say one thing to George Springer. Welcome to the 3-run homer club.
This one propelling the Jays back into the World Series for the first time since Joe touched them all.
He's been doing it his whole life. There's nothing bigger than that one right there.
Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
And here is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his daughter posing with the ALCS MVP trophy during last night's post-game press conference. Vladdy's father, Hall of Famer Vlad Sr., says seeing his son win the MVP award for the series made every sacrifice, every workout, and every tear worth it all. Stay with us. We have a final look at the forecast and a look at how the Riders are doing after the break. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are back on the practice field as they prepare for the final game of the regular season. The Riders are coming off a 17-16 loss to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but the Green and White used many of their backups during that game because they've locked up first place in the CFL's West Division and have earned home field advantage in the Western Final. Two of the Riders' offensive stars say they are excited to get back to gameplay after sitting out last week.
It was tough. I mean, just talking just now, I was in sweatpants and a long sleeve shirt for practice. I don't do that, so that was a little different. And then watching from the couch just took me back to last year and made me want to throw up. So glad we're not doing that.
I'd love it. Anytime we get an opportunity to play, it's always important. The more reps, the better. You know, shoot, I've told you guys in preseason, I've told Mace, let me play 3.5 quarters, and if it's close, leave me in. That's how I feel now. So.
The Riders' opponent this weekend is the BC Lions. The Lions currently sit in second place in the West Division and could very well be the Riders' opponent in the West Final. Head coach Corey Mace wouldn't share how much playing time the starters will get, but said they will start the game. Kickoff at Mosaic Stadium this Saturday is set for 5 o'clock. Well, I want to send a big shout out to all the grade 5s who joined us today from St. Michael's School in Moose Jaw. They were here for a studio tour and a bit of a weather presentation, and they even got to try out the weather studio for themselves. I think we have a lot of future weather presenters on our hands here, so big thanks to Ms. Gritzfeld and the entire class for coming out from Moose Jaw. And it is looking like a pretty nice night in Moose Jaw and the rest of South and Central overnight, with mostly clear skies as that front continues to move on by. Temperatures around the freezing mark for many of us. Up north, though, still looking at a few showers, especially in eastern sections, with lows generally just above freezing. That's where we'll start Wednesday morning before things start to clear out as we get a little bit later into the afternoon, and getting pretty close to the 10-degree mark out in western sections. For South and Central, we will already be on our way to near 10 degrees already by the noon hour, and into the afternoon, mid-teens for many of us as we continue to enjoy some nice sunshine and also some calm winds as well. So a gorgeous Wednesday is expected. Very nice, especially for this time of the year. And that is our news for this Tuesday. For more news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/Sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. And of course, you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.